You are watching Unity Broadcasting Network, the power of God at work.
Amen. I'm not getting it. I'm getting it. Can we show it? Can we show it? Can we show it? Pedestrian, wait. This government of yours is destroyed. I want to show you it. Can you give me that? Oh, show. Mashaba, Fiesa, out, yo, and this is over here, out, this is over Just raise up your hands to the Lord. Just raise up your hands to your Maker. And sing hallelujah. And sing hallelujah to Him. Oh, hallelujah. Just sing hallelujah. See you kumanga Jesus. Hallelujah. Sing it again. The Lord rose. The Alpha and the Omega. The Creator of the heavens and the earth. The Maker of everything. The one who has power over it all. Yes. He is worthy to be praised. He is worthy to be honored. He is worthy to be glorified. And yes, we stand here, the children of the Most High, and we say, we are given power, we are given authority, yes, to trample on the snakes, on the scorpions, and yes, there is no power that can prevail against the power of our Lord. Just begin to pray, begin to pray. The fire of the Lord shall cover all of this place. The fire of God shall reign here. Just pray, just pray, just pray. There is power in your mouth. There is power to demolish all the strongholds of the devil. There is power to stand against all the arguments and all the pretensions that exalt themselves against brings the knowledge of Christ. Just pray. There is power in your mouth, child of God. There is power in your mouth. You pray, you take authority over this place. You take authority. That is what God has given you. That is your inheritance. You cannot miss this chance. God has appointed you to uproot, to overthrow kingdoms. You do that right now through your prayer. Through your prayer. Through your prayer. Yes, you are chosen and you are called for such a time as this. You cannot miss this opportunity. Go on and overthrow everything that is against your God. Overthrow when it happens. Spiritually, it shall manifest in the physical. You did it before. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. You can kneel down and pray. Lord, you are great. Lord, you are powerful. Lord, you are wonderful. There is none other like you. Yes, you exalt your name, Father. Your name, oh Jesus. The name that is above all names. The name that is above. At the mention of your name, oh Lord, all the knees shall bow. And even today, the knees are bowing of all your enemies. In the name of Jesus, of all the enemies of the church. In the name of Jesus. Yes, Lord, we kneel before you as your church, Lord. And we say, Lord, every way, arise, Lord. Rise up, Lord. And let all our enemies be scattered. Scatter them, Lord. Scatter them, oh my God. Scatter them. Scatter them, oh Father. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. Lord, you are great. There is no one, Father, who can stand against you and prevail. We say your fire, Lord. Holy Ghost, take charge. Holy Ghost, take over. Your power, your power, your power against all the plans of the devil, all the plans of our enemies. In the name of Jesus. Yes, Lord, you are the Savior. You died on the cross. You bled for the church. And you said, oh Lord, on this rock I shall build my church, and the gates of Hades shall never prevail against it. And Lord, we thank you. For your word says, no weapon formed against us shall prevail. Lord God, we stand on your word and we say, let your word come to pass, even in this situation. In the name of Jesus, the battle is yours, O Lord. The battle is yours, Almighty God. Arise, O Lord. Arise, our King. Arise, arise, Lord, and let all these enemies be scattered by you. Yes, Lord, you promise that they shall come in one direction, but they shall flee in 7 directions. We say, Lord, we uproot, and we overthrow, we demolish, and we destroy right now, Lord. Right now, Lord, the kingdom of darkness come down right now with your power, your fire here, Lord. Overseer J, my God, your fire, your fire, your fire, your fire. Call it the fire to come down there. Call it the fire to come down. They have to know your God, that your God is alive, that your God, your Savior, the one who healed you, the one who delivered you, the one who is powerful, his name shall be known, that his name is power. Your fire, my God, your fire, Jesus, your fire, 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 your fire. of Jesus. Yes, victory is ours, guaranteed. Area cross, oh Jesus, guaranteed. Yes, you are the mighty warrior, the unopposed. There is no man who can stand on your way and prevail. There is no man who can stand against your church and prevail. That is what you said, oh Lord. Let it come to pass. Let them know that we serve a God who is alive. In the name of Jesus.
Greetings, Unity Fellowship Church. How are you? My name is Mpho. I'm the MMC for Health and Social Development in the city of Johannesburg, and I'm here to receive your memorandum on behalf of the Executive Mayor. I'm also the MMC for the FBO, which is the faith-based organization in the city of Johannesburg. The FBO is an organization that pulls together all religions around one organization that will liaise directly with the city of Johannesburg on faith-related issues. Now, as you know, we are a new administration currently in the process of reviving the FBO, but we've got an interim chairperson, and I'd like to acknowledge her. I've got here Apostle Busisiwe Tebahadi, who also has a ministry in Soweto, who is assisting us, working very closely with us, along with other pastors, to revive the FBO in the city of Johannesburg, to ensure that when we have challenges, we're able to address them in a constructive manner and not in this manner. Before I continue, I'd like to hand over to Dr. Mukhuba to read the memorandum, and then we will accept it and respond. Thank you.
Thank you, MMC. Normal circumstances, people always begin to say it is a pleasure to meet other people, but in this unfortunate time, we are not able to do so. I'm going to read the memorandum, but I just want to make a very important correction. It is not Unity Fellowship Church, madam, that changed the draconian actions of the DA and Councillor Mashaba. It is the churches within the jurisdiction of Johannesburg. Unity Fellowship Church under Pastor Mukhuba just happens to be one of the churches. So we need to make that very clear, that it is all the churches, or rather the body of Christ, that is feeling the pain and expressing it in the streets where it should not be. The memorandum is submitted to the mayor as a last resort of airing our grievances with the city of Johannesburg with respect to the city's apparent total onslaught against the Christian churches within its jurisdiction, as exemplified by the city's treatment of Unity Fellowship Church led by Pastor Mukhuba and many others. Christian churches within the jurisdiction of Johannesburg are subjected to persecution, suffering, demolitions, and untold pain. We now believe that since you represent the DA, Herman Mashaba, your actions are consequently the policy of the DA with respect to the Christian churches. It has become apparent to us, Mr. Mayor, that the city of Johannesburg has a policy to harass, to intimidate, to destroy and disrupt or stop Christian churches from worshiping their God and practicing their faith. With respect to Unity Fellowship Church, the city of Johannesburg, through its functionary, the Joburg Metro Police Department, has engaged in a concerted effort to basically destroy our church since 2010. The problem started when the JNPD started visiting our church under the pretext that they were responding to noise complaints lodged with them by one Grace Piele and more or less 7 of her friends who are church neighbors and who have described themselves as avowed Satanists. The same Grace Piele and her friends, strangely enough, together with the city of Joburg, are not disturbed by the noise generated by the tavern that is also a neighbor to her and the church. We have consistently maintained that we have a right as South African citizens to constitutionally guaranteed rights such as the freedom to practice our religion, rights which are, we might add, greater with due respect than municipality bylaws, as the Constitution's stipulations are greater than any other law or bylaw in the Republic of South Africa. Furthermore, we have pointed out that our church is based in an area zoned industrial, and therefore the municipality cannot justifiably apply residential noise regulations to an entity based in an industrial area. Our church is based in an area demarcated as industrial zone, and yet the houses in question are built in what should be regarded as a buffer zone between the industrial area and the residential area, as is normal township development planning in this country. We have also consistently pointed out that the church under Pastor Mukhuba exists legally, as all municipality processes were followed and approved by the municipality to establish it on land it owns, as we have a title deed to the land. And yet, strangely enough, Mayor Mashaba deems it fit to evict us from land that we legally own. We would like to point to an attached petition which the city of Johannesburg has not responded to or even acknowledged. The council has obviously erred by approving the building of the church so close to a residential area, about 5 meters from somebody's bedroom window. In retrospect, council should have refused to approve the church building in its present location and perhaps suggested that the church building be erected on the opposite side of the plus 8,000 square meter yard, opposite to where the church is at the moment. This would have put the church at least 100 meters away from the immediate houses, thereby creating a natural barrier between the church building and the houses. The council could also have, in the extreme and in practice of due diligence, refused permission for the church to be built as it was clearly indicated in the architectural plans that it would be built 5 meters from somebody's bedroom window. The city council, instead of admitting to its mistakes, chooses to arrogantly use the might of its resources without regard to the facts to solve the problem. They decide to simply use the residents' so-called complaint to justify harassing and attempting to demolish and close Unity Fellowship Church down. We have seen them in action, vandalizing property at our church with impunity. We have seen them pepper spraying people who are peaceful people, who are in the church to only worship their God. We have seen them steal chairs from our church, a practice that is prevalent throughout Johannesburg, where pastors relate stories of beatings, relate stories of untold harassment by officials sent by Herman Mashaba in an effort to destroy Christianity within the precincts of Johannesburg. To prove that the JMPD is persecution, and we must add that we have no qualms against the officers, we understand that they are just being used as pawns by their political masters to perpetuate persecution and harassment against the body of Christ. They have visited our church many times. So many times, it is difficult to count. And very strangely, despite the so-called noise issue that they always present, and the so-called bylaws they always keep referring to, the JMPD has never once proved to us with that the sound we are generating as a church was above the acceptable noise regulation levels. They were just acting on a complaint that has not even been verified. Another proof of anti-Christian behavior by the Johannesburg Metro Council and its associate structures is that we have a farm. We've bought a farm in Eckenhof to build a church big enough to accommodate worshippers, as we have actually outgrown our present location, and yet the council creates haggle after haggle to thwart all our efforts to build this big church. It is obvious that their gripe is not about noise, but the Christian church itself. Why else will they refuse the church solution to their so-called noise problem, which is to actually relocate the church at no cost to them? The council is also doing its level best to avoid attending to the review application we have lodged. The review application was primarily about the withdrawal of the consent for a place of worship. That is what Herman Mashaba and his council do with a measure of specialization. They deny us the right to worship our God by withdrawing the consent to worship, by they allow crime to go on a rampant. They allow shebbeens to continue operating without license. They allow prostitution in our streets. They allow drug dens to continue operating unabated. But they see it fit to withdraw a consent for a worship for a church. To date, the council has not complied with the request of documents and other things pertaining to the meeting held prior to the decision to withdraw the consent for a place of worship. Any first-year legal student will tell you that you cannot, in sober mind, apply for a court order on issues raised in a review application before the review application is heard. However, the council nefariously went to court without informing us and our lawyers and obtained a court order to demolish the church and evict us from our land. Now this is very strange. How do you demolish something? If I commit crime in my house, if Unity Fellowship Church is committing a criminal offense within its premises, shouldn't the DA-led government allow the law to take its course rather than destroy a building that is legally built? Mr. Mayor, Churches in Johannesburg attest to the fact that they also experience persecution from Johannesburg city officials, notably the JMPD, who are always sent to demolish tents, church tents, take church properties, harass Christian worshippers, threaten men and women of God, and generally make Christian worshiping difficult. Isn't this obviously an anti-Christian crusade by the DA? Should we now consider the DA to be the devil alliance? What is pregnant and clearly indicative of the Joburg city's protracted war on Christians is that we do not see them enforcing bylaws. They only claim to enforce bylaws when it comes to Christian churches. Even the apartheid government allowed us to worship in the fields. Even the apartheid government allowed us to worship in classrooms. Even the apartheid government allowed us to worship in other structures which are called by Mashaba and the DA illegal. Are we not to suppose that this is not a government of the people? Is this government only concerned about pleasing white monopoly? They are not even attempting to emulate apartheid. They want to outdo apartheid itself. Because apartheid never attacked churches. Why is it that we do not hear of any other religion complaining about being subjected to persecution? And only Christians who are subjected to persecution. We have mosques everywhere in this country and in this city. There is no parking for mosques. JNPD is well aware that every Friday, cars block the roads next to mosques, and nobody worries about any parking bylaw. The only time bylaws come into effect, it's when Christians are supposed to have violated them. Isn't this selective treatment of religions? The reason why, Mr. Mashaba, you will find makeshift structures everywhere in black townships is because we don't have land to build churches. We provide services that your government is not providing. We deal with issues of morality. We deal with issues of criminal activity. We address them. We heal the sick. We are a sanctuary of the poor. And yet, you want to close down this important organ of the people that serves their interests. Can we then suppose that you are for the people? You live in your mansions. You live in your leafy suburbs with your white masters. Amen. And you do not care about the poor black people. What would you prefer, Mayor Mashaba? Would you prefer that the people we serve, the people we help, the people who fill these churches, should not have anywhere to worship their God, and they should instead spend their time in criminal activities instead of being taught about morality and good citizenry. Your party, the DA, Mr. Mayor, promised change from the ANC-led councils. You promised to serve the people and to listen and address their concerns, and that is why we voted for you. But today we ask, are you serving the people by demolishing their churches simply because they don't have land to build on? Are you listening to the people when you refuse to grant them an audience? Are you addressing their concerns by persecuting them for simply worshiping their Jesus Christ and their God? We are therefore hereby demanding the following. Before I come to that demand, I must articulate the feelings of the men and women of God behind me, which I've jotted down, for we would not want them to feel that they've been left out. Some of the things that we managed to capture is that the men and women of God are saying that instead of cleaning the city of crime, the DA and Mashaba are vigorously trying to clean God, our Lord, out of the city. The men and women of God, your Christian leaders, say to him and Mashaba and the DA that we are rejoicing, and we should rejoice as a country, that the Democratic Alliance won the 2016 local government elections in some councils. We should rejoice. Why must we rejoice? Because this has provided South Africa and the world at large an opportunity to see their true colors. We now have an opportunity to know that they are anti-black, that they are anti-poor, and that they are anti-Christian. Now, we know that we should not make this mistake in 2019 by voting for them. Christian brethren, I say to you today, that a vote for the DA in 2019 will be the same as committing suicide for us as Christians. Imagine what they can do to us when they are in national government, if they can do this to us when they are in local government. When you vote for them, you will be voting for Satan to come down and rule us directly from the civic center. We say the DA is now unequivocally proven to be an authority of darkness. How else can we explain the attacks on the poor and the Christians? Now, Christian brethren, to illustrate this point, I know it seems like we're taking time, but it is imperative that we are ahead. But this DA-led government that claimed before the elections of 2016 that it will govern justly, that it will govern with honor, that it is not a front for white people and white monopoly and of course colonialism, as we have seen the leader Helen Zille proclaiming that colonialism was very good for us Africans. People of God, Pastor Mukhuba called the DA leader some 3 weeks ago on a Sunday when this problem was going on, because we must state for the record here that we are not standing here today because we have not done anything else to try and resolve this matter amicably with them. We have written many letters to Mashaba. We have written many emails to him, and he has refused to even acknowledge those letters. We have had a sit-in, and we met city officials. They even refused in that meeting to allow the law to take its course. That's how intent they are in negating the prescripts of the law in this country, in furtherance of their aim to destroy Christianity and Christian churches as a whole. Now, Pastor Mukhuba called Muslim Imani about this problem that we are facing with the DA-led Joburg municipality. He pointedly told her there was nothing that he could do, else he was going to play golf. This is a man, brethren, you must know that even within the body of Christ, there are those amongst us who serve the forces of darkness. Because this man claims to be a pastor. He goes to play golf whilst Christians suffer and their churches are demolished and threatened. This is what we ask for. This is what we demand. This is our, I won't say humble request. I think the time has come for us as Christians to stand together and to face the enemy. You must always remember, we are not alone. We have our God and his armies with us. The war has already been won in the spirit. It will manifest itself here on earth when Mashaba and the DA are taken out of power. We demand that the Joburg City Council and its associate functionaries stop the obvious hostility and persecution of Christian churches. We demand that the Joburg City Council immediately withdraw its court action against Unity Fellowship Church and other churches. We demand that the withdrawn consent for a place of worship be reinstated to Unity Fellowship Church. We demand that the JMPD officials who participated in the illegal cowboy raid on Unity Fellowship Church be investigated and sanctioned accordingly. You must also remember on the day of the raid, they didn't even have name tags. We demand that those like Deputy Directors Bia who have a fanatical preoccupation with the church and the Church of God be suspended and investigated for ordering the illegal raid on the church, because they did not even have a court order to that effect. They have now become a law unto themselves. We demand that the executive mayor intervene to ensure that land application for church use are granted and speeded up. In the meantime, temporary structures be allowed whilst the city identifies suitable land to allocate to Christian churches. The city cannot expect Christians to stop worshiping or practicing their faith merely because they have not been allocated land and because they are not abiding by certain bylaws which are applied selectively. We demand that the rezoning application for land use in Ekenhof be speeded up. We're waiting for his promulgation and gazetting, which the city is dragging its feet on. Majorly Christians, we demand, and this we must fight for. This we must be prepared to die for. Christians, the time of going to legal corners in your houses and in your churches and just praying and wishing that your problems will go away are over. We must stand against the forces of darkness wherever they manifest themselves, as we are doing today against him and Mashaba. Christians, let us fight to be allowed to practice our faith without fear or intimidation. Mr. Mayor, if we are in any way wrong about the persecution of Christians being a major part of the DA's policy on religion, how else, to reiterate, then can anyone explain the persistent, horrifying attacks on peaceful Christian churches by officials who are acting under specific instructions? Shouldn't your administration be working with the churches to stem the scourge of crime in the city instead of alienating and demolishing them? Shouldn't you be working with the churches to solve the issues of land provision and social responsibilities? We end here with a proclamation that as children of God, victory will always be ours.
You would have to sign, if I may, MNC. I will sign here. Thank you, MNC. You can respond because we'll give you this whole file. Yes, it's a memory stick.
Thank you, Dr. Mukhuba. Did I say it right this time?
Yes, it's
We have heard and we have received your memorandum. Now, as you know, this matter has been before us since we started in this administration, but it was before the previous administration, I'm told, for almost 8 years. So it's not a new matter before us. And as we know, the matter is currently before the courts. Therefore, neither one of the two parties involved can interfere in court processes, which means we cannot really engage outside of the court process. However, we acknowledge everything that you have pointed out, and we receive your memorandum. I just want to say, though, that it is not true that this government is anti-Christ. As I introduced myself, I introduced the interim chairperson of the faith-based organization, who is herself a leader of a Christian church with many churches under her, and who is currently working very closely with the city to address issues of faith.
Representing who? Representing who? We are church.
As I explained when I first started speaking, we are currently formalizing the FBO, and we will open an invitation to yourselves to come and form part of that FBO, so that we can have a situation where we're able to talk about things and not in this manner. I would like to close by sharing from the Bible that we all read. And I would like to leave you with this message from the book of Romans in chapter 13, verses 1 up to verse 7. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted. And those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. I am reading from the Bible that we all read. It is in this spirit. It's fine, I will stop there. You will go home and read it for yourself up to verse 7. I am using the scripture because you're using the scripture. I have to speak in a language that we all understand. The law is nothing new. Even in the days of Jesus Christ, the law existed. And Jesus preached obedience to the law. He said to his disciples to pay their taxes. He said to them, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. If it is the same Jesus Christ that you are talking about today, my message to you today is, let us obey the bylaws of the city. It would be unconstitutional for anyone to deny you freedom of religion. But it is unconstitutional for you to not obey the bylaws of the city. As I already said, this matter is before the courts. Let's allow the courts and the law to take its course. I thank you.
I would like to thank the MMC.
Thank you, sir. I have to get...
Yeah, thank you. I would like to thank the MMC and delegation for receiving the memorandum. However, I feel that a rebuttal to allegations we cannot allow that to go unsaid. I have never, as a Christian, heard the Bible so misquoted in my life. Brethren, those who do not understand our religion shouldn't even try to deal with it. I'm told that they have even started to intercept our signal so that it doesn't go on air, because they do not want people to know who they are. Brethren, we are practicing Christians. We cannot be told by our persecutors, the persecutors of Christians, how to read and interpret the Bible. this to be abundantly clear. The MMC was lying. It is not true that because matters are in court, you cannot withdraw them from the court. Since when, if you take someone to court, you cannot change your mind and say, I no longer wish to continue with the prosecution? Since when, in this country, if you institute legal actions against someone, you cannot then go and say, okay, I've changed my mind. I've decided to talk. The pastor has asked that I read this from Jeremiah 1:17. That get yourself ready. Stand up and say to them whatever I command you. Do not be terrified by them. I will terrify you before them. So says the Lord. Today I have made you a fortified city, an iron pillar, and a bronze wall to stand against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, its officials, its priests, and the people of the land. They will fight against you, but will not overcome you, for I am with you, and I will rescue you, declares the Lord our God. Let us understand this. You have heard that we should be subjected to authority. If that is true, why is the DA party always challenging the ANC and Zuma? Why do they not practice what they preach? Why are they themselves not subject to the authority of the ANC government? She talks about obedience. This MMC. MMC, me muslupa bakreste. The DA city government today has the guts to tell those who challenge injustice that they must obey unjust laws when they themselves exist primarily because of that platform of challenging what they perceived to be injustice. When anybody, whether they're in government or whatever, is against God, we do not listen to them. God is above them and everything. Rekhateti sikhathele ngokuhlukumeziwa. Singavumi bazalwane. Singavumi. Singavumi bazalwane. Singavumi bazalwane. Singavumi bazalwane. Singavumi bazalwane. Our persecutors cannot preach the Bible to us. These authorities of darkness, these principalities of evil, cannot tell us about our God. Let's not again listen to lies. We are going to close now, Bazalwane, by continuing with our program so that we can all go and digest the silly, unreasonable, remarks of this DA-led government as expressed by the MMC. Let the world know what they stand for. They want to persecute us in the name of our own God. You heard her for yourself. They use the Bible now against us as Christians. Ucabanga ukuthi ubani? Unaona hore ke mang? O bona gore o finyene. O hleketa gore yena imani. We will continue this rolling mass action. We are giving them 14 days to respond. If they don't respond, we will again come and march against them. Until they allow us to practice our faith without fear, without intimidation, without harassment.
You are watching Unity Broadcasting Network, the power of God at work.